Hi, I'm Neil Snyder. Thanks for joining me for another Snyder Talk video commentary. Today I want to address the Yahweh's promises concerning the promised land. I've been talking about the fact that peace in the Middle East will be impossible to achieve. What I haven't done until now in these video commentaries is explain to you what Yahweh said about who owns that land. You know, we can argue back and forth about who actually owns the land. The Muslims claim it. They say they have a right to it. It's part of the pan-Arab nation or the Arab nations. The Jews claim it as their homeland. If you're a believer, though, if you believe what Yahweh says, then you have to go to him and see, what does he say? Well, he says a lot, actually. I want to start out by reading Genesis 13, 14 through 17. That's Genesis 13, 14 through 17. And this is Yahweh speaking to Abraham. Now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which you see, I will give it to you and to your descendants forever. I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if anyone can number the dust of the earth, then your descendants can also be numbered. Arise, walk about the land through its length and breadth, for I will give it to you. Now he's talking to Abraham about all of that land today we call Israel. Actually, it's much more land than what we call Israel today, and I'll show you that in just a minute, because Yahweh addresses specific boundaries. Okay, now I want you to look at Genesis 15, 18 through 21. And again, Yahweh speaking to Abraham. To your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt, or the Nile River, as far as the great river Euphrates, the land of the Kenite and the Kenizzite and the Cadmonite and the Hittite and the Perizzite and the Rephaim and the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Girgasite and the Jebusite. From the Nile River to the Euphrates River. That is the description of the boundaries of the promised land that Yahweh gave. Well, it will interest you to know that the Nile River is in Egypt and the Euphrates River is in Iraq. So then what we're talking about is land that extends from the Nile River in Egypt all the way to the Euphrates River in Iraq. If you think that peace in the Middle East is difficult now to deal with, imagine what it will be like when Yahweh comes on board and deals with this issue. Because those who are unhappy with the presence of Jews in Israel are going to be very unhappy when Yahweh declares, or lets it be known clearly, that they own all of the land from the Nile River to the Euphrates. Now, in Genesis 17, 4 through 8, for my part, this is my covenant with you. Now here again, Yahweh speaking to Abraham. For my part, this is my covenant with you. You will become the father of many nations, and you are no longer to be called Abram. Your name is to be Abraham, for I am making you father of many nations, and your issue will be kings, and I shall maintain my covenant between myself and you and your descendants after you, generation after generation, as a covenant in perpetuity, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. And to you and to your descendants after you, I shall give the country where you are now immigrants, the entire land of Canaan, to own in perpetuity, and I will be their God. And again, he's referring to Canaan there, but he's also alluding to all of those lands that are between the Nile River and the Euphrates River. Now, going on, this is Genesis 17, chapter 17, verses 15 through 16 and 19 through 21. And again, Yahweh speaking to Abraham. As regards your wife Sarah, I shall bless her and moreover give you a son by her. I shall bless her, and she shall become nations. Kings of people will issue from her. Yes, your wife Sarah will bear you a son, whom you must name Isaac. And I shall maintain my covenant with him, a covenant in perpetuity, to be his God and the God of his descendants after him. For Ishmael too I grant you your request. I hereby bless him and will make him fruitful and exceedingly numerous. He will be the father of 12 princes, and I shall make him into a great nation. But my covenant I shall maintain with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear you. Here we have a situation where Yahweh is distinguishing between Isaac and Ishmael, because Abraham had asked Yahweh to bless Ishmael. Sarah had no children at that time, and Yahweh said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to bless a son who's not yet born. His name must be Isaac, and my promises extend through your descendants, through Isaac. Very important point. If you believe the Bible, that's hard to deal with. Hard to deal with if you want to side with the Arabs who believe that they own that land. And there are many Christians who believe that the Arabs are the rightful owners. Unfortunately, it's not consistent with what Yahweh said. And as for me, I think I'll just go with Yahweh. Now, moving on to Genesis 26, 2 through 5. Here we have Yahweh speaking to Isaac. Do not go down to Egypt. Stay in the land of which I shall tell you. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For to you and your descendants I will give these lands. And I will establish the oath which I swore to your father Abraham. I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven, and will give your descendants all these lands. And by your descendants all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. As you can see, the extension of these promises goes from Abraham, not through Ishmael, but through Isaac. Yahweh made that perfectly clear. He distinguished between the two, Isaac and Ishmael. He even said this made a promise about Ishmael that's quite interesting. He said, a wild donkey of a man is he, his hand against every man, and every man's hand against him. The Arabs today in the Middle East are descendants of Abraham through Ishmael. The Jews are descendants of Abraham through Isaac. And Yahweh distinguishes between the two, and he says, all of these promises I've made to Abraham about the promised land are extended through Isaac. And as we'll see now, they also are extended through Jacob. And this is Yahweh speaking to Jacob. I am Yahweh, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and your descendants. Your descendants shall also be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread out to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and your descendants shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised. Then he repeated that promise in Genesis 35. By the way, that was Genesis 28, 13 through 15. Genesis 28, 13 through 15. This is Genesis 35, 10 through 12. And again, Yahweh speaking to Jacob. You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name. I am God Almighty, which means the Hebrew there is El Shaddai. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come forth from you. The land which I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I will give it to you, and I will give the land to your descendants after you. He's referring there to all of those people we refer to as Jews today. Actually, more correctly, it would be Israelites. But I'm not going to get into that here because that's an issue that requires some explanation. Then I want you to go to Exodus 6, 6 through 8, because here we have Yahweh describing the promised land to the Jews while they're in bondage in Egypt. I am Yahweh, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will deliver you from their bondage. I will also redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgments. Then I will take you for my people, and I will be your God, and you shall know that I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will bring you to the land which I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you for a permanent possession. I am Yahweh. That's interesting, isn't it? Here he ties the promise about the promised land to his name by saying, I am Yahweh. In other words, this is a guarantee. This is an absolute promise. It cannot fail. Again, that was Exodus 6 through 8. Now, look at Exodus 23, 20 through 25. That's Exodus 23, 20 through 25. Speaking again to the children of Israel. Behold, I'm going to send an angel before you to guard you along the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Be on your guard before him and obey his voice. Do not be rebellious toward him, for he will not pardon your transgression, since my name is in him. There's a story there too, because he's referring to the Messiah there, whose name is Yahweh. But that's another story, and I won't get into it here. But if you will truly obey his voice and do all that I say, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go before you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will completely destroy them. You shall not worship their gods, nor serve them, nor do according to their deeds, but you shall utterly overthrow them and break their sacred pillars in pieces. But you shall serve Yahweh your God, and he will bless your bread and your water, and I will remove sickness from your midst. Again, the land he refers to there, all of that land is the land referred to as the Promised Land, and it includes all of the land from the Nile River to the Euphrates River. And then finally, Exodus 23, 27 through 21. I will send my terror ahead of you and throw into confusion all the people among whom you come. And I will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. I will send hornets ahead of you, that they may drive out the Hivites, the Canaanites, and the Hittites before you. I will not drive them out before you in a single year, that the land may not become desolate, and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. I will drive them out before you little by little until you become fruitful and take possession of the land. I will fix your boundary from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness to the Euphrates River. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you will drive them out before you. Again, we can talk all we want about peace in the Middle East and the boundaries for the state of Israel, but according to Yahweh, there's going to be no peace in the Middle East until he comes and brings peace. And the boundaries of the Promised Land extend from the Nile River to the Euphrates River, from the Great Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, to the Euphrates River. It is a much bigger piece of ground than we typically think about when we think about the land of Israel. Just keep that in mind as we move into these discussions and debates about peace in the Middle East. Thank you for joining me for another Snyder Talk video commentary, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.